Hello.
Morning.
And welcome back. You almost sang that.
I did.
We're still on the Peak Forest Canal. And we get a lot of, literally every day, we get asked, how much does it cost to live on a narrowboat? I think that's because with everything that's happened over the past year or so, people are looking for that escape.
I think so, yes.
And narrowboats and canals just seems to be, well, so idyllic out in the countryside, away from the madness. And I think that's why popularity on narrowboating is booming at the moment. A friend of ours who works for a boat brokerage called AB&B has said that narrowboats are in such short supply that prices are staying high.
Yeah.
Even getting higher in some cases. So today we're going to tell you exactly, well, within like a margin of 100% either way, how much it costs to live on a narrowboat. The biggest upfront expense is going to be the boat itself.
Yeah.
And it depends really on your budget, how much you've got to spend. I mean, you might be able to grab a bargain and you might be able to get something for £5 grand. I wouldn't want to see the state of it.
It might not float.
But we've seen people buy really good boats for like £20,000, £30,000 straight and be really happy on them. And you could spend an amount like that and then do the boat up to your own standard. But maybe you've got a bigger budget. Maybe you can afford a brand new boat. That's going to cost you, for a boat like ours, anything between, I don't know, 120, 150, maybe even a little bit more, £1,000. So the range is huge. And the best thing you can do is go and talk to as many boat brokerages and boat builders and second-hand boat dealers. There's loads of them around the UK. Look in Waterways World magazine, they're all listed in there. There's dozens and dozens of them. You've found a boat and you've fallen in love with it and you're just so excited to get out there and start living on the cuts. But hold your horses. Whoa there, Daisy love. If you were buying a house, you wouldn't get a mortgage and move in without getting a survey first, would you?
Absolutely not.
So get a survey done on your boat. It's going to cost you anything between £300 and £800 on average, depending on the type of survey you have. It might be a hull only, or they might go in and do all the gas and electric and everything. That's the one you want. Because if you get the keys and set off, you might get half a mile down the cut and...
Or blow up.
Or sink. Could be either of those. But you don't want any of them, to be honest. So it's a good investment up front because it could save you thousands of pounds further down the line, down the cut. I should have said down the cut, couldn't I? Also, when you're having a survey done, it might cost you to get the boat pulled or lifted out of the water. That can be a couple of £100 to £500. And the marina might charge you for leaving the boat on the hard standing while the surveyor's doing his thing. So talk to the marina or the brokerage you're buying from and get an idea of the cost of surveying and getting the boat out of the water before you start parting with any cash. If the surveyor finds nothing and you're free to go, sound like a police officer, don't I?
Free to go.
Pull your trousers up, Colin, on your way. then that's all good. If he does find something, you might be able to get a discount off the price of the boat for the work that needs doing. I didn't tell him that.
No, you just did.
But let's just say that everything's fine and off you go on your new boat. You're going to need to take a few things into account, things like licence, insurance, and maintenance and servicing. That's an important thing. We spend about £250 every 250 hours for the engine to be serviced.
How much?
We could do it ourselves for about £80.
Yeah, easy.
But I'm not very good at hands-on manual practical stuff, and Sean doesn't even know where the engine is.
I haven't got a clue.
Even though he stood on top of it.
Where is it?
So we pay to have the engine serviced, and that costs us about £250, and we have that done about 3 or 4 times a year. You could do it yourself for about 80 quid a pop, and that's going to just cost you for the materials, like your filters and the oil, things like that. So take that into account. You've also got to save, because every 3-4 years you're going to need new batteries, you're going to need your boat blacking, and the anodes on the side at the bottom of the hull renewed. So we put a little bit away each month so that when that comes up, we've got the cash ready to do it.
And it's not a shock.
It's not as much of a shock, although it's still parting with the cash in it.
Yeah.
I could have a weekend in Superdry shop with this money. So you're out on the water, you're going to need a license and insurance. You can't have a license without the insurance or your boat safety certificate. Now, insurance costs us about £400 odd a year. You can get it from as low as about 150 quid up to about 700 quid, and it depends entirely on the value of the boat, the length, how much it would cost to rebuild, and whether you've got contents insurance. You could also get other add-ons, things like ice damage and terrorism.
Really?
Yeah, you can. There's all sorts of add-ons you can get that will push the price up. We pay a little bit more than average, but that's because it's a fairly new boat, so the rebuild cost is quite high. Plus we've got the filming equipment on board, which we have to have separate cover for. The licence itself, we pay just under £1,000 a year. It's worked out on the length and width of your boats, and also whereabouts you're going to be cruising. So a standard licence for us, like I say, is just under £1,000. That's for a 57-foot boat. It's going to be cheaper if you've got a shorter boat.
Yeah.
It's going to be more expensive if you've got a longer and wider boat. They also do a gold licence, which means you can go on places like the River Thames, where you'd have to pay separately if you just have a standard licence. And that costs about £300 on average a year more than a standard licence. But if you're not going to go to the places where you need that licence, there's no point in paying it.
Or if you're only going to go once,
Yeah.
pay as you go.
Diesel is probably one of the biggest running costs that you're going to have. If you're continuously cruising, like us, you will use a lot of diesel. We use it for propulsion of the boat, moving. We also use it for heating. We have a central heating system with radiators, and it heats the radiators and the hot water. Now, in the last year, we used about 1,000 litres.
How much?
Which cost us about £800, give or take. We've got the costings right at the end. And we did about 600 miles. So it has been a bit quieter because of the restrictions in the last year. But we did cruise more in between the restrictions.
Yeah, we did move quite a
lot.
lot in between, yeah.
And we had quite a cold few weeks during the winter, which we had the heating on a little bit more than we would have done. The other thing you got to consider is that we use red diesel at the moment, although that's been taken out of use pretty soon. And there's different rates of duty we pay for it. If you go into a marina, they'll usually charge you duty at about 60/40, because you've got to pay the duty on the propulsion but not the heating. Now you have to self-declare this, so you could say no, it's all for heating, 100% of it. But then if the taxman catches up with you, naughty, naughty. The other expense, which is about the same monetary for us, is coal. We don't use normal coal, it's like a smokeless briquette. You're not allowed to use normal house coal on the cut. Now, we used
Quite a lot.
nearly 2 tons. About 1,800 kilograms of the stuff over the last 12 months.
We like to stay warm.
And that came in at a cost of about just over £700. Now, you might choose to have a diesel stove, you might choose to save some money and get your own logs. As long as the wood is seasoned and nice and dry, you can burn that. But it is an expense, but I mean, you compare it to like gas and electric for heating your home, and it's actually not that much over a year, is it?
No, it's not.
I think most people will pay more than £700 a year for gas and electric for heating the home.
I would imagine so.
As well as diesel and coal, we also use gas, mainly just for cooking. So we've got the hob and the oven and the grill. And we use 13 kilo gas bottles, which we've gone through 4 over the last year, which is not bad. It's cost us £134 in gas for a whole year.
Pretty cheap.
Which is pretty cheap. The topic of all conversation on the canal is toilets. Whenever you meet up with another boater, you will always end up talking about toilets.
Yes, you will.
And it's another expense. If you've got a pump out toilet, then it's going to cost you anything between 15 and 20 quid on average.
Per pump out?
Per pump out. And it's difficult to say how many times you need to use that because, again, it varies. If there might just be one of you, there might be a couple of you on board, or a whole family. So the rate at which you need to pump your tank out can vary. But if you reckon on like once a month, that's going to be 15, 20 quid a month, which is like 150, 200 quid a year or more.
Depends on the size of your tank as well.
It does, and how much you poop. If you've got a cassette toilet, you might pay for chemicals like blue or green or pink or whatever it is now. That can cost money over a year.
Yeah.
We have a composting, a separating dry toilet, and all we pay is for the coconut soil, which we use as the composting material, and some biodegradable bags. Altogether, about 20 quid a year.
Don't cost us a lot at all.
The other way you can go is to get an incinerating toilet. These are quite new technology, and it virtually does, where it says on the tin, on the toilet.
It burns it.
It burns your poop. Now, we don't have this because we don't think it's environmentally friendly because it uses a lot of energy.
A lot of gas.
And you have to have a lot of gas or electric on board to be able to do that. And there's also these like coffee filter things, isn't there?
Yeah, that you poop in.
So it is like the most, not the efficient, it's like a really good fast way of getting rid of it, but it does cost a lot of money.
Yeah.
And then you've got to eat, and he's got to eat and drink wine. And he's got to eat.
Oh, jeez.
And we budget about £75 a week for groceries. That covers our food, Otis's food, and things like toiletries and detergents and things like that.
And I find that quite easy.
But you soon find ways of being able to cut back and stick to a budget. If you give yourself that, like 75 quid a week is what we have. So we kind of put that in an envelope, and that's all we've got, and we have to make it last.
If we've got nothing left by Sunday, that's it. Tough.
So hungry. Now, you might not want to continuously cruise like we do. You might want a place in a marina or just a permanent mooring somewhere, and that costs money. Now, you could get a mooring at the end of somebody's garden or a field, a private one, for maybe 100, 120 quid a month if you're lucky.
If you are, if you're lucky.
If you want a moor in a marina in central London, you might be looking at 16, 18,000 pounds a year just for the mooring.
May as well live in a house.
So it all depends whereabouts in the country you are. If you don't want to moor full time, you could just take a winter mooring if you want to cruise in the summer and stay still in the winter. And the Canal and River Trust set up winter moorings around the country where you can pay for between 1 and, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 months to just moor your boat over the winter. They've got more details on their website about that. It's really important for us to have a very good internet signal on the boat, as much as we can. So we have an external aerial and we have a router with a SIM card in it. Now, we only pay £20 a month for unlimited data.
Yes.
And we do use quite a lot of hundreds of gigabytes of data. We've also got a mobile phone each, but we only pay £10 a month for that. And we get quite a good deal on that, don't we?
We do, yeah.
Unlimited calls and texts. So it's just another thing to take into account. If you're going to be working from your boat, you might need the internet. But there's some good deals out there. You can still get unlimited data for about 20 quid a month. Even though our home is like our transport, sometimes it's necessary for us to go a little bit further for something. It might be to see family or to do some filming or whatever reason we might need to go somewhere. And sometimes 2.5 mile an hour is not fast enough. Now, luckily, most of the railways were built alongside or near the canals, because the canals always took the kind of straightest, flattest route, and the railways copied that.
Yeah.
So you can get a train to virtually anywhere with good connections in the UK, but sometimes, again, that's not fast enough, or it might not get you near where you want to be. So we've had to hire a car a couple of times over the last year, 3 times. It's cost us just over 200 quid for the hire and the petrol and things. And again, it's something that you might not think about if you're going to be living full time on a boat and you haven't got your own car, and it's just something to take into consideration and maybe put a little bit of money away from.
Yeah.
We got asked a while ago if we needed a TV licence when you live on a boat, and yes you do.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter whether you're permanently moored or continuously cruising. If you've got a telly on board and watch programmes like BBC or On Demand, you need a TV licence. We've got 2 tellies on the boat, one in the saloon, one in the bedroom, and the TVs, I think last year it was £157. I don't know why I'm looking at him. He doesn't,
I have no
he has
clue.
nothing to do with the money at all, do you?
No.
Another expense you might want to consider is breakdown and recovery. If you've got a car, the AA, the RAC, Green Flag, they all do a similar kind of thing, and on the canals it's called the River and Canal Rescue, RCR. Memberships cost about 60 odd quid to about £280. The last time I looked, it might have changed by now. And it's different levels of service, so if your engine won't start in the middle of nowhere, you just call them out and somebody will come and fix it.
Yeah. Easy.
We also put about 70 quid away for, like, if anything happens. I mean, like, you know, you could be moored in the most isolated part of the River Thames and a boat just comes smashing through your galley window one night while you're watching Mr. Robot and eating curly whirlies.
I know.
Yeah, it did happen on another vlog if you want to go back and have a look. It's just there. It's like savings, but things do go wrong on rivers and canals more than you would expect in a house, and things can happen like that just
In a flash.
yeah, and you need to deal with it. So it's good to have a bit of cash behind you to be able to deal with things that go wrong like that. And finally, we give ourselves the royal amount of £30 a week.
Hey, how much?
As an well, he gets 10, I get 20 as an allowance, and that's it's for things like fish and chips. And remember when we used to be able to go out to the pub?
Oh yeah.
My secret cupboard fund.
It must be mounting up then now. The pot, not the secret cupboard.
We're back from the cake shop.
I'm full.
A stone heavier. We've given you a lot of information, so I'm going to summarise it just down this side of the screen. It might make it a little bit easier to understand if you're budgeting and trying to work out if you can afford boat life. Just before we got the boat, we spent weeks, if not months, on the numbers, crunching numbers and trying to find out what other people were spending. And our budget actually came in more or less what we thought it would be, didn't it?
It was pretty spot on.
And we're spending about what we predicted we would spend, which is good because that's all that we've got. So the biggest expense, as we said at the beginning, is the boat.
Yes.
So that's going to be the top line, and I can't put a figure on that because it's up to your budget and how much you want to spend.
Yeah.
Servicing and maintenance comes next. Now, we spent £720 over the last year. Again, if you're doing the servicing yourself, that might be a little bit cheaper. Then you've got things like the blacking and anodes, which need replacing every 3 to 4 years, and we're putting £300 a year away for that. Okay. After that, we've got the batteries. Now, they need replacing every 3 to 4 years as well. So we're putting £450 a year away for the batteries. Next, we've got the license. Now, our CRT license costs us 908 what?
I've started to sweat.
£985. I thought I'd done something wrong then. And then you've got insurance. We pay £420 for insurance. Now, yours could be cheaper. It could be a little bit more expensive. The odds are it's probably going to be a little bit cheaper than what we pay. Our diesel bill, are you ready? Was £740.
How much?
And we spent £724 on coal. Well, it's either that or shiver.
It's cheaper to buy a jumper.
The coconut quai, it sounds like a haircut, doesn't it? 1950s haircut. Walk into Barber's with me fiver and ask for a coconut quai. And the biodisposable bags for the toilet cost us 20 quid for the year. We also put £50 a year away for our BSS, our boat safety scheme certificates, because that costs between 150 and 200 quid. So we put £50 a year away for that. Our grocery bill came to £3,900.
I never spent that much.
And £480 went on our internet and our mobile phones. £216 on transport. That was for 3 hire cars and a couple of train journeys.
Yeah, that's not bad.
A couple of Ubers. Oh, bright yellow tops they had on then. £157 on our TV licence, and then we've got £900 in the unexpected fund. Now, we did spend a lot of that. We had a couple of alternator belts that snapped. We had to buy a new windlass. We had to buy some new mooring spikes. Just bits and pieces that go wrong. I think we bought a new lock for the bike. We bought some new...
You've left a couple of windlasses.
Yeah, we've left a couple of windlasses. And we've replaced the fenders on the boat as well.
Yes, we have.
And then we've got our £30 a week allowance, which comes to £1,500 a year. So for a total of £11,622 a year, wow, that's how much it costs us to live on Narrowboat Silver Fox. That splits down into £968 a month, which is about right, isn't it?
Yeah.
Or £223 a week. That's what we spend.
Yeah.
Yours might be completely different. You
might be a lot less, might be a lot more.
You could get it down. We know people that live on £100 and odd a week.
Yeah.
We know people that spend £300 or £400 a week. I'd like to know where they're getting their money from.
I do.
We hope that this helps you. If you're planning to move onto a narrowboat, we hope this comes in useful. If it does, and you've enjoyed this video for whatever reason, and you're not already, please subscribe to the channel. It does help us.
And it's free.
If you subscribe, give the video a thumbs up for us. Click the like button, and if you hit the notifications bell, YouTube will let you know every time we release a new video. It's 4 o'clock every Friday here in Britain, isn't it?
Yeah. And you should know that by now.
They might only be watching for the first time. Be nice.
Well, they've got to go back and watch the others, and then they'll know what time this one starts.
If you'd like to watch our adventure from the beginning, we do have a playlist. Click on the playlists tab, and there's a playlist called Every Vlog in Order from the Start, and that's how you can follow the story from the beginning. If you really like us, you can help support the channel by clicking the join button on YouTube's homepage. Well, our homepage within YouTube. And you can also do it by clicking the link above
Colin's head today.
It is, isn't it? Hey! We hope you've enjoyed it. Thank you for joining us, and hopefully we'll see you next week. Take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.
Ta-da.
Hello. 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 Morning! He has got a voice. We thought we'd explain something that we get asked about all the time. He is a real man.
And don't skimp on what you...
He nearly blew that. Timothy West knows all about that, doesn't he?
He does.
The amount of bridges he's taken out over the years. Train! Again. It's copyright infringement. Shabba.
And he'll start that again.
And that covers both the boats. But you can pay that, I think, monthly.
Both the boats?
Yeah, both the boats. Back in a second. and there's no one else to help.
Nobody talking to you.
Welcome to the Otis show. So yeah.
And he's going to do that again.
Yeah, I am. Wobble, wobble. We get. It nearly went prepubescent then with my voice. Sounded like
some years ago.
Sounded like choir boy Colin then for a second. What's the next step? Well, get a survey on it first.
And then get your head read.
You found a boat. I'm spitting, I'm so excited.
You're so passionate about it.
And then half an hour later, you like that? Excuse me. I sound like an accordion this morning when I'm breathing.
How many times are we going to do this?
Till I get it right. Oh dear. And cut.